All right, Candy, we have new microphones today. We aren't in session yet, are not in session yet.
Okay.
We have new microphones. Can you please talk a little bit so we know you can be heard?
Good afternoon, Ms. Gaiman.
Can we hear her? Yeah? Okay, great. We're good. We
You mean I have to hold it?
Yeah, you have to hold it.
Okay. All right, Mary Joy, go ahead. Can you hear?
I can hear fine, thank you. Yes, I can hear, thank you.
Sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. We haven't started the meeting yet. I'm just pulling up my computer with between microphones and getting everybody logged in.
Steve,
What?
for LCTI, I was just going to mention the open house. Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
It's fine.
I didn't know if you had anything.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience. Could I ask you all to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you very much. All right, I have Ms. Cruz on speaker. Mr. Mond has Ms. Reinhardt on speaker. Every board member is in attendance this evening by call-in and everyone else physically here. Thank you all for coming. And I'd like to move on. I'm refreshing the visitor comment page. I do not believe we have any visitor comments at this time. No. So seeing none, I will move on to the minutes. Well, before we do the minutes, could I just have the executive session summary from our board solicitor announcing executive sessions that we've had since our last meeting?
I understand there was one.
Relates.
I understand there was one Wednesday, September 18th at 6 o'clock, and it involved a personnel item.
Thank you very much. And this is Don Spry, Mr. Spry, filling in for Jessica Moyer, who is usually sitting here with us this evening. We welcome you and thank you for coming to represent King Spry here. All right. Moving on to, could I have a motion to approve the board minutes of August 26th and September 9th?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Carney, for the motion.
I just want to make a clarification to the September 9th minutes.
Sure. Can we wait till we have a
Yep.
second and
I'll
then we
second.
can?
I'll second.
You'll second? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wick, Dr. Wick. Go ahead. What would you like to clarify?
Under new business, I had brought up a letter that I had, an example of a letter that I passed around to all the board members and I read out loud. I just wanted that letter to actually be reflected in the minutes, that not only did I bring that letter in support of girls golf, but also I think I did pass along the letter to Miss Lobley. So if that could just be added to the minutes, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. We'll add that you distributed a letter to the board regarding golf. We can add that line to the minutes.
Yeah, and the contents of that letter would be great.
We don't usually attach the contents of things like that brought up under new business.
I mean, but I think it would just be a better reflection of what I had said, since I did read it verbatim, word for word. So I
Sure.
just like it to better reflect what I had stated in the minutes.
Yep, that's what the video record is for, but we won't be attaching your letter. We'll just be mentioning that you said the letter as we have always done in the past.
Great,
So
thank you.
thank you. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions or corrections? Thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Wyck. I agree that should have been in there. Anything else? All right, seeing none. With that addition to new business that Dr. Wyck distributed a letter regarding golf, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Moving on to superintendent report. Dr. Mann.
Thank you, Mrs. Gaiman. I do want to welcome Mr. Spry tonight. I think the last time we were at a board meeting together was maybe 1999 in Bangor. So it's been a while, but it's good to see you again. Yeah. Sorry. So I just have one piece of good news for tonight. At the start of the school year, the board is aware that our Southern Lehigh Education Foundation has been reorganized and raising some money. Last year, they were able to pay the tuition of all of our free and reduced lunch students who were participating in the dual enrollment program. They were able to continue to do that again this year. That's an offer that is out to our students. But the exciting thing that occurred in a meeting last week is that at the start of this year, notice went out to all of our teachers K through 12, asking them if they had interest in applying for a grant. We were calling them innovation grants, to do something in their classroom that was unusual. Maybe they had on their minds something they wanted to do and just never really thought they had the funds or the opportunity to do it. And I was so pleased that very many teachers from across the district actually took us up on that offer and put in for grants. And last week, the foundation awarded a total of $15,000 to our teachers. There are 6 successful grants. Not all were successful, but all were great, and we're hoping to be able to, encourage people to apply again. And so it is the highest top secret which grants are the winners, and we're hoping to kind of make a splash with the awards as we go around to the classrooms to announce those people who've done it. And we'll certainly keep the board posted on what those grants are and what they're going to accomplish, but it's just a little early now. That would kind of break the secret, which we want to avoid. So with that, Mrs. Gaiman, thank you. That concludes my report.
Great, that's great news. So it'll even be a surprise to the teacher. So, when do we expect to kind of roll that out? And
Oh,
know?
next month, next meeting, I will have a full report, and our hope is to kind of go in and maybe surprise some teachers with some good
Okay,
news.
great. So sometimes between now and our next month's meeting. Great, that's great news. Thanks so much. Look forward to hearing more about those innovation grants. All right, moving on to curriculum, student, and staff services. Could I have a motion for, we have the Southern Lehigh School District Health and Safety Plan. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
action is
right.
required. I apologize. No action is required on this item. It's just something that we are required by the state in order to access certain funding
Yes, that's
streams.
that's
We
correct.
have to review this.
Yeah, that's correct, Mrs. Gaiman. Board members will recall throughout the pandemic, we had obligations to do health and safety plans. It was updated. It was often, a challenging issue, but right now it's simply a matter of compliance. I think the whole thing actually ends on September 30th as far as the auditing of this goes. But for us to be able to, if when the auditor comes in 2 years to say we had the plan updated, this is just simply no action is required. We're going to put in the minutes that the plan was reviewed, and I think we're in good shape with that. So thank you.
All right, great. So this is our official review of that grant. Yes, Mr. Carney.
It might not matter much since you said it expires September 30th, but when I reviewed it, when I clicked on some of the links, like the mask one, it said page error, and there was almost all the other links were redirecting to a more recent link. So I didn't know if to update it, is it worth it, or just no?
My guess is that those links once led to the thing on the mask and all that, and just because we are so far removed, those pages probably have expired. And being that the whole thing, I think, goes out on September 30th, like a day or a week here now, I think we should let it sit.
All right. Any other questions about that? We've officially reviewed, but thanks for bringing that to the attention. So if people are looking for that information, they can, I guess, reach out to, who should they reach out to?
Yeah, I actually don't think it exists anymore. Like the
Oh, they're links to the CDC. I thought it was
That
a
stuff, yeah.
combination of CDC links and our school links.
No, I mean, the ones I was clicking on were CDC, and they moved the links to something else. So it
Oh,
said you will be redirected in 10 seconds, and it did eventually bring you to CDC. That was it.
I misunderstood, Mr. Carney. Thank you. I thought these were something about health issue, statements within our health system. That makes sense now. The CDC links moved.
This
Okay.
should actually be the last time we have to
Yeah.
approve it.
Great. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. All right. We have reviewed that health and safety plan, hopefully for the last ever time. Under special education and student, I'm sorry, is there something? We good? Oh, okay. All right. I didn't want to miss a comment. I apologize. Under special education student services, I have CLIU 21 and SLSD, the 24-25 use of funds agreement for IDEA Part B, Section 619 preschool grants. Can I have a motion to approve the use of funds agreement as noted in the attachment?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Cruz, for the motion, and Mr. Carney is for the second. Any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Steve, can you hear Mary Joy? Is she's there?
Yeah, Mary Joy, are you there?
I'm here. Yes, I approve.
Okay, great. Thanks. I just couldn't hear you from over here. I apologize. All right, moving on to, we don't have anything under technology. Moving on to business and finance. Does anyone object if I take items 8A through D together? If we have any questions, we can separate those out and talk about them, but no objection to the vote being combined? All right, seeing no objection, could I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Thank you. Items 8A through D.
Second.
Thank you for the motion, Mr. I'm sorry, who was that over there for Ms. Lobley's benefit? Who made the motion? Okay, thanks, Dr. Wayak. And the second, Mr. Boyer, just to help Ann Lobley out with the recording. All right, let me, you're good. All right, so just for the record, this is the bills list. Motion to approve the attached bills list. Motion to approve the treasurer's report and investment report for the month of July 2024. Am I missing comments of it? You're good? Okay. This is the property tax refunds. Motion to approve the property tax refunds per the attached document. And just this one new middle school mail machine equipment lease to approve a quadrant device for $73.99 a month for 39 months. I think this is a postage type of device, Mr. Pepe.
Yeah, that is correct. It's actually replacing an existing postage meter by the same company that's being decommissioned as of December by the U.S. Postal Service. So we are doing it, and we're doing it for the 39-month term so that we can get it in line with the other postage machines so that we can hopefully bundle and get a better deal as we go out. Usually you do a 5-year cycle.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that explanation. All right. Any other questions or comments about any of those items? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Perfect. Thank you. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Moving on to, we don't have anything under support services, human resources. I'm going to take some of these items separately. Could I have a motion to approve I'll read them off first to make it easier. The human resources report with the personnel items attached, the CLIU, our participation in the CLIU 21's guest teacher program for the winter 24-25 program cycle, and motion to approve the PHEAA LEA participation agreement. Could anyone object if I take items 10A through C together? Seeing no objection, could I have a motion to that effect? Thank you, Mr. Carney.
Second.
Thank you for the second, Mr. Boyer. Any questions about any of these items? Seeing none. The only question I had was, I believe I saw in the human resources report people who were leaving us who had many years of service. Dr. Ake Little?
Yes, we have a retirement, Barbara Ackerman. She's a librarian at Hopewell and 27 years of service. And actually, we have a resignation, Mr. Dana Walbert. He's one of our, he's our materials handler. He's a jack of all trades, and he will be leaving us after 26 years. So each one of them have actually a quarter century more than experience. So I'm sure they will be missed. They'll be fixtures of their departments in various schools, and I'm sure they'll be missed.
Yeah, thank you for that. I do remember that Ms. Ackerman at Hopewell Library will be missed. She's a friendly face. So we wish her the best. And Damon Wahlberg, I vividly remember him riding around between schools on his bike between buildings to get back and forth. So he was a fixture who will also be missed. We wish them the best as they move for Southern Lehigh, and we hope that we thank them for their service. All right, let's see. Moving on to item 10D, motion to approve the Oh yeah, we should probably vote on those. What do you think, Eric? Thank you. And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Boyer. Appreciate it. Moving on to item D, can I have a motion to approve the resolution of the differences that developed with employee number 013005 concerning the 2023-24 year-end evaluation as follows? And then we have 4 items there regarding letters of reprimand, year-end evaluation, 3% raise, and future evaluation. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So,
I got 3. Are you going to battle it out? All right. So thank you, Ms. Torba, for the motion and Mr. Carney for the second.
just 1 second, Solicitor, when do you place a motion to table? What is now? So I put a motion into table due to insufficient information to actually vote. Thank you.
And I don't know if your microphone, I'm sure, can we pick up just, we're good. Okay. So I'm just going to repeat in case the microphone didn't pick up.
That's fine.
Thank
I
you.
had my finger on the.
I'm sure you did. You're doing double duty over there with Ms. Reinhardt, so we appreciate. I have a motion to table submitted by Mr. Mond, and I have a second from Ms. King.
Non-debatable.
Yeah, right. I was just, at this point in time, we vote whether or not we do want to table this or whether we do not want to table this. A vote of yes means we want to table, and a vote of no means we want to vote on this tonight. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. So a vote of yes means table, and a vote of no means vote on this tonight. So all
Is
those,
there a discussion that occurs?
it's non-debatable. I'm sorry. Oh, you're just confirming.
Not,
Okay.
not on tabling an issue. There's no debate. Yeah.
Okay. So all those in favor of tabling this, not voting, all those in favor of tabling, say aye.
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 Could you, I believe I heard Ms. Reinhardt's. I'm just clarifying for the record. Thank you. Dr. Wayok, Mr. Mond, and Ms. King. Anyone else? In that case, motion fails. We are voting on this tonight.
Now it can be debated.
Right, sure. Any discussion points on this? Minimal discussion as it is a personnel matter.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing about this is that we had insufficient information to make this vote tonight. That's all that I wanted to say regarding the tabling.
Okay. And
Okay, so
yep.
otherwise, obviously this needs to move on in some way, shape or form, but not without the information. Thank you.
I appreciate you expressing that. We all got the same information, but I understand if your opinion, and you're welcome to it. I appreciate you voicing it. All right. Seeing nothing,
Madam President,
Dr.
could-
Wack.
Could you just give us some more information? I mean, it seems a little unusual to me to have this type of motion on the agenda where it specifically outlines 4 different points. So the letters of reprimand and directive that was issued last year, but to this employee would be removed from the personnel file. So there was a letter of reprimand, I assume, and a directive.
It says
that was
letters,
issued.
letters of
Letters,
reprimand.
okay.
Mhm.
So there's multiple letters then of reprimand
Mhm.
that were direct and a directive, I guess. Are these separate?
As you know, this motion was written by counsel, independent counsel.
Yeah, I
And
guess.
so I hesitate. This is a personnel item. We don't
it's
usually
okay.
discuss.
But I would like, I think it's very important for the
Sure.
public to understand kind of what we are doing. And,
Okay.
And I would like to personally actually understand how we got to this point as best as possible. I
Okay,
certainly
sure.
understand if there's personnel issues. I would love to understand kind of how we got to a motion in front of us this evening that states that letters, I guess, multiple letters of reprimand and a directive. So I guess these are separate things. were
Well, I
issued
mean,
last year
to
an
you were,
employee.
we
Yeah.
did, we, I mean,
Well,
I guess, like, just to be clear,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
right.
just-
I
I'm just trying to
interrupted
go
you. I
through-
apologize.
Yeah,
I will let you
yeah.
finish and
Thank
then
you
I'll
very
address
much.
your
I appreciate
question.
that.
I
Yep,
apologize.
that's
Go
great.
ahead.
And then I guess in the 23-24 school year, there's an evaluation that I guess this employee received in the personnel file. So we're voting to remove that evaluation. So there were multiple reprimands, a directive, and we're removing the evaluation. So we're expunging this from an employee's file. I guess that's the first two. And then we're voting to provide an employee with a 3% raise for this year, I guess. So I guess, so we're voting to give this particular employee a raise. That's going to be retroactive. So that's expending taxpayer funds. So I just think it's important for the public to understand that. And then I guess, so then it states number 4, with regard to all future evaluations, and I guess formal and informal evaluations. So both formal and informal evaluations and disciplinary actions or components thereof of disciplinary action. So for this particular employee is being singled out somehow, some way, that we're voting on this today, that any future disciplinary actions for this particular employee, if they have any specific concerns, so if this one particular employee has any specific concerns about the validity, that individual employee is authorized to bring those concerns directly to the board president's attention. So just so I understand this motion in front of us tonight. So
Sure.
multiple letters of reprimand and a directive is being removed from the file of one individual. The evaluation is being removed. We're giving this employee, this particular individual, a raise that's retroactive. And any future evaluations to this one specific employee and any disciplinary actions, if this individual employee has any concerns with this disciplinary action, any disciplinary action, I guess, that they would come directly to the board president. It seems just a little unusual to have something like that as like a voting item. And I guess, my concern with the ability to vote on something like this is that, like Mr. Mon, I don't think I have all the information. I don't know how we make a decision as a board, as somebody who is, not privy to certain day-to-day operations about one particular employee, how we're going to be able to make this type of decision. And so I guess I have significant concerns with us as a board. If there was some potential concern or something, I don't know, but removing multiple reprimands, removing an evaluation, giving a raise, and then now going forward, any future evaluations, that it's going to come directly to one individual board member. And I guess that individual is currently you, Ms. Gaiman. And I guess if there's another president after, in a few months, then that individual, so one individual board member is going to be able to make decisions, I guess, outside of the normal processes. And I guess the question that I have for our solicitor, and, for any other board members who wish to speak on this, since this seems to me like a pretty significant agenda item, is what kind of precedent is that setting? That one individual employee is now has this different treatment, I guess, different treatment for one individual employee.
I mean, disparate treatment.
I guess I would love to understand what that means, and then what prevents potentially other employees from coming forward saying, "Well, I want a raise. I didn't get a raise, or I didn't get as much of a raise as I want. I now want a higher raise," which I guess I would question that if I were an employee. And I don't want any disciplinary action to, if I have any disciplinary action, I don't want that to be my record. I didn't like last year's evaluation. I would like that expunged. And this is the first time I've really ever seen such a detailed motion regarding one particular employee. Oftentimes there's, some type of, some type of an agreement that, is voted on, that since it deals specifically with personnel issues, there's not much of a discussion. But I think this laid out, I mean, it certainly, is a well-written agenda item that gives a lot of detail, more detail than usual. And I guess I'm a little worried about the precedent that potentially sets. And now, does this change the governance of our district when an individual employee is coming now directly to the board president because an individual employee does not like, what somebody says or any disciplinary action? To me, it kind of changes the entire administrative structure or the structure of our district, where I guess current structure, would climb up the chain of command to our superintendent. And now that structure is being changed. It's being circumvented to come directly to a board president. I guess I need to understand, how that's going to change the governance of our district. And I really would love to hear from other board members to see what their thoughts are on that particular.
Well, first,
yeah,
I didn't want to interrupt you,
sure.
but
I appreciate that. No, thank you.
You asked me
Yeah.
to, initially you said you'd asked me to explain a little bit more and give a little more information. So before anyone else weighs in, or before Mr. Spry potentially, if there's anything you'd like him to weigh in on, I'll address that. And let's start by, I did not want to belabor the issue, so I didn't read every little item in it, but I'll do that now. Item D, motion to approve the resolution of the differences that developed with employee number 013005 concerning the 2023-2024 year-end evaluation as follows. 1. The letters of reprimand and directive issued last year will be removed from the employee's personnel file. 2. The 2023-2024 year-end evaluation be removed from the employee's personnel file. 3. The employee will receive a 3% raise for the 2024-2025 year to be retroactive to July 1st, 2024. 4. With regard to all future evaluations, formal and informal, and disciplinary actions or components thereof, if employee number 013005 has specific concerns about their validity, the employee is authorized to bring those concerns directly to the board president's attention. Now, as far as how we got here, Dr. Wick, you were saying "I guess" a lot, and I understand, you weren't trying to talk about something publicly, but I just, for transparency and to explain a little bit more about the situation. The board hired independent counsel to address this issue. The board received a full report from independent counsel and was given the opportunity to ask questions about it during a 3-hour executive session on Wednesday. The board also received a written summary of that report, as well as a summary of recommendations from that report, as well as all written communications regarding the report's conclusion. I will tell you that I am basing my vote tonight on the information provided in that report and on solicitor advice and guidance. Your concerns, Dr. Wayak, I appreciate you expressing them. My greatest concern in addressing this topic thusly is that I find it disturbing that I hear more concern being expressed on this topic about administrative power and authority and process going forward than about the fair treatment of our employees. And you ask, why is this on the agenda? It is unusual to see this on the agenda. It's also very unusual. I don't think I have ever in my decade attending these meetings seen a motion on this agenda to hire independent counsel to conduct an investigation. You're right. It is very unusual, but it is our responsibility. And I do not want to be derelict in that responsibility. This motion is on the agenda because our directive as board members that employees be treated fairly was, found to be not carried out. So that is why it is here. And that was based on solicitor Vite and the finding of that report. That is what I will be basing my decision upon. And we all have that same information.
So I thank you very much for that. So the more I recollect from those sessions, the more concerned
The 3-hour session on
That's
Wednesday.
correct. I must express my deep concern and disappointment regarding the manner in which the recent investigation and meetings have been handled. It's alarming to witness the complete disregard for due process, which should be the cornerstone for any fair and transparent investigation. At no point were clear procedures followed, in my opinion, and more troublingly, no written evidence was provided to the board to support the conclusions that led to this motion. The lack of documentation not only undermines the integrity of the entire process, but also questions the validity of the conclusions reached and the recommendations provided. Interestingly, I believe that we had a discussion at our last meeting regarding hiring an attorney, an individual, or I think you had said a third-party attorney or an attorney who was to complete this investigation. Well, just so the public is aware, that's an attorney from a firm who the school district recently ceased utilizing services from. An attorney that was handpicked by you, Emily. An attorney who has a history.
Dr. Watt, that's not correct.
Okay.
That's not correct.
Okay. But after
Not
3
handpicked.
hours of discussion surrounding providing what we see here on the agenda with a blank slate now for future potential performance, this recommendation, I believe, sets a very dangerous precedent. It undermines the administrative governance structure within our entire district. This conclusion, what we came to here, appears very one-sided. So what we received was evidence from one side of this investigation. We did not receive, not one board member, except for maybe one, and that may be you, received any evidence to the contrary of the conclusion. So I find it very hard that an investigation occurred. 100% of the objective evidence that I have in my possession, that every board member has in their possession, comes from one side of the equation. Okay, you have a complainant, you have a target. We only have evidence, objective evidence from one side. I personally cannot accept verbal recollections as evidence. It was very clear to me that, Emily, you were prompting the attorney in his recollection of information. I find it hard to believe, quite frankly, that a lawyer who's held in such high esteem provided some of the information that we were provided. I believe there's a bias here that has me significantly concerned. And this is a bias that has shown through time and time again. I think you have provided that historical bias, both historically and currently. And I think this is very dangerous.
Ms. Gaiman, please.
I would like a chance to just address, since Dr. Wick addressed me since he addressed me directly, instead of addressing the issue, he addressed me. I want a chance to respond.
But just so you know, it was surrounding the issue at hand.
It is surrounding the issue at hand. But one of the, I would say, I think Mr. Mond, among others, has said at this table many times that we as a board need to start working together. And I think the first step in working together is addressing the issue, not the person. So I have no objection to you addressing the issue and your concerns with it and why you are making your decision. But you are not addressing the issue. You are addressing the person and you are addressing me.
No,
And that
no,
I'm
no.
going to respond to.
No, I was 100% addressing the issue.
No, you
So
weren't.
in a investigation of which you led this investigation. If I'm incorrect in
You are
stating that,
incorrect.
please, I'm incorrect that you did not. How many? I guess let me ask this: how many board members were privy
Chris,
to an
I'm going-
investigation? I'm just curious.
Chris.
So an investigation
Chris.
with an attorney. How many board members were privy to that investigation?
Chris, I'm going to address your question.
Perfect.
Great.
Thanks.
So, and you're throwing a lot out at me without, letting me respond. So give me a minute here. But first, you said that I handpicked this attorney. That is incorrect. You voted to approve this process. You yourself voted to approve this attorney. It was a unanimous board decision at that meeting. It was 0 no votes. Not a single person spoke up in opposition. This is a complicated process, yes. And I am the board president. And I spelled out in consultation with our Kingsbry solicitor, in consultation with other, we also, you know what, I can't go into details. So it's difficult to discuss this without going into details. So what I'm going to say is, wait, no, please do not interrupt.
Last
No.
meeting, I did not vote for
No.
this attorney last meeting.
You did
You are
not
correct.
vote.
Everyone voted for the attorney
Chris,
originally, but
I did not
last
interrupt
meeting,
you.
We did not.
I didn't interrupt
Not
you.
everyone voted for this attorney, just so you know. Just wanted to clarify that.
Are you done talking? Okay. This addresses, you're right, I will address that. At the last meeting, there was a vote to extend, I don't have language in front of me, for a further need as a result of what came out of this initial, what encompassed this initial vote that you voted for. What we are voting on tonight is directly related to that first vote. This board approved this process. This board unanimously approved the process. You had not at one time reached out and said, I have an objection to this process or to this person, and you voted yes. I cannot discuss this as much as, I just can't. And also, please consider right now that employee, sorry, I scrolled, 0135 whatever, that employee is watching right now, Chris. And I think we have to also consider that. So as I address your other questions, which were as far as you had the opportunity on Wednesday for 3 hours to address all of this.
So I did ask for objective written evidence on Wednesday, and I did not receive any objective written evidence.
I would like to make a statement.
I disagree. Go ahead, Ms. Reinhardt.
Can I make a statement, Ms. Gaiman, please?
Absolutely, we can hear you. Mr. Mond's holding that button down, even though I'm forgetting to hold mine down.
My finger is
Okay, I
cramping.
would like, can you hear me, everybody?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Steve's
Okay,
finger's cramping, but we can hear you.
Ms. Gaiman, you just said that everybody received a full written summary report. That is incorrect. You
A summary of
canceled the executive
recommendations.
session- You canceled the executive session tonight, which is critical to discussing these matters.
Because we had a
And I
3-hour
would like to
executive
know
session
how
on
you
Wednesday.
know- I would like to know how you know the employee is watching.
Because we talked about
That
this
is
for 3
totally
hours.
inappropriate for this meeting.
Mary Joy, we talked about this for 3 hours on
It's not a
Wednesday.
question. I'm not questioning about how long we talked about it. That was not an issue. You just stated in this meeting
Yes,
that everybody received a full written summary report.
a summary
That-
of the
That
recommendations.
is not true, Ms. Gaiman.
I will-
Nobody
I-
received a full, I did not receive a full written summary report. And to my knowledge, other members did not receive a full written summary report.
Okay.
Furthermore, you canceled the executive session tonight where we could have talked about this, which is where this belongs. And I would like to know how you know the employee is watching. That seems a violation of confidentiality.
Okay, a couple of things. I will answer those questions as I remember them. If I forget one, please let me know. I said we received a report on Wednesday and a written summary of recommendations. So to restate, we received a report and a written summary of recommendations. If you would like me to resend that email to you, I am happy to do that immediately following this meeting.
Well, Ms. Gaiman, I think you're incorrect, and maybe you'll need to review the video of this meeting, but you just stated to the community and to the board
Mhm.
that everyone received a full written summary report.
Okay,
And
well,
I think that is critical to any serious investigation, that a full written summary report is provided as a result, which was not provided at all. And I do believe that this needs to be tabled because we did not have an executive session, and all of this belongs there, not here.
all right, well, we already voted to not table it tonight, so we are voting on this evening. If I misspoke, and I might have mixed up my words, I am stating now that we received a report and a written summary. The words summary and report are being, but we received a report, full stop, and a written summary of recommendations. Now, as far as me saying,
We never received a written summary of recommendations.
okay,
We did
I
not
would be
receive-
happy to email
we did
that to you
not
again.
receive written summary of recommendations. I'm sorry, Ms. Gaiman, you are incorrect.
I sent an email on Thursday, I believe. But if you did, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. As far as addressing confidentiality and how I know the employee is watching, we discussed this issue on Wednesday, so we all know who the employee is. And I know, Mary Joy, you aren't here, but the room is full of employees, as well as I'm looking at my computer and I'm seeing the employees who are logged on to watch this meeting. I mean, it's not far-fetched to look around this room and look at my computer and say the employee is watching. And I said that because I
Ms. Gaiman,
think,
it's simply unprofessional and inappropriate. I do believe this belongs in executive session. I will end my comments by stating that I cannot vote yes to approve this, and that doesn't mean I don't agree or disagree. I'm simply voting no because I don't feel we have adequate information for which to make a decision tonight. Thank you for your time.
thank you for expressing, and I am glad that you are representing your constituents by voting in accordance with your conscience. I encourage every board member to do that. I just, because there's been so much discussion, I just want to repeat for myself, I am concerned as a board member that it appears that more is being expressed. And the reason I brought up the employees watching is because I want to clearly state that I find it disturbing that more concern is being expressed about administrative power and authority and process than the fair treatment of our employees. And I, as a board member, am here to assure that. And that is not the evidence we received, according to solicitor recommendation, indicates that our directive as a board about how we expect our employees to be treated was, that's why I'm voting this way. That's what I'm saying. Would anyone else like to weigh in before we take this vote? Ms. King, could you please hold in your button while you talk, Ms. King?
I just want to say that I did think it was kind of ridiculous and strange that the executive session was canceled, because when we left the meeting the other night, we all decided that we definitely had a lot to talk about, think about, talk about later. So for the executive session to be canceled and not given an opportunity for us to round the wagons and discuss this again was unexpected. So my decision is going to be based on that I'm worried about the long-term implications without having fully received or been given full access to information on this entire matter. And I feel I'm being forced to make a quick determination without evidence being presented from both sides.
Thank
I'll
you.
be voting no.
Thank you. And as far as why exec was canceled, we had a 3-hour exec, and I did not think that in the 30 minutes prior to this meeting, anything would be accomplished in that, as well as there were other factors as to why exec was canceled that I explained in my email.
I don't think that's why it was canceled, but thank you.
Sure. Anyone else before we vote?
I just want to be very clear about my intention to table. My intention to table was to ensure that we had time to review all of the information that was brought about by the investigation. And there was a discussion about that actually after receiving the information and looking at it over the weekend is when I realized that there were things missing. So because of that and because of the timing, I feel it important for me in order to make my decision. It has nothing to do with the fairness of the situation. I take that very seriously. I take fairness in employment and interactions very seriously. So because of that, I want to make sure that I'm considering any and all information. That was my reason for tabling. It had nothing to do with any other decision other than getting that information to make the final decision as a collective board here. And, that's what I wanted to say about this, just to make it abundantly clear. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Torba?
I appreciate everyone's opinions and insights. No need to belabor the process that the 9 of us, have been involved in, nor should it be discussed here. I appreciate and respect the fairness to those involved in the seriousness and the sensitivity of the item. I've received everything, all the same information the 9 of us received. Look through it as well. And based off guidance from outside counsel, and I know we're using the words reports or summary, maybe that's where we're getting caught up. Mr. Mon, you said it best, with fairness and the seriousness of it. I too took the time to look through and review, and based on what I've come to read through and the guidance of outside counsel, I am at the point to make a decision and keep this motion on the agenda. And it highlights that fairness and level of seriousness and sensitivity to all our employees.
All right. Are we ready to vote? I think we are. All right. All of those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
For the record, I'm sorry. Could everyone hear Ms. Cruz? We could hear? Okay, so I have an aye. For the record, just for the minutes, Ms. Lobley, I heard ayes from Ms. Torba, Mr. Carney. Tim, just give me a nod to make sure I'm right, yeah? Myself, Ms. Cruz, and Mr. Boyer. All those opposed?
Nay.
I am opposed because of the lack of information provided to the board to make a decision fairly.
I have Dr. Wayak as opposed. I have Ms. Reinhardt as opposed.
Nay.
I have Mr. Mond as opposed.
Nay.
And I have Ms. King as opposed. So there's 9 votes, no abstentions. Motion carries. Moving on to committee reports. We have had policy committee. I do not have a report. Does anyone else have a report? I see 2 folks over there. You can arm wrestle for the privilege of going first. Okay, Ms. Torba.
Technology committee met. We had our first last week, and we welcomed Eric Fluck, our new director of technology. Dr. Mayen did provide, as we had mentioned, There's a robust project happening right now, the rollout of Infinite Campus, which is our student information system. And Dr. Mann did provide an update on some of the challenges that we've experienced in the beginning of the school year. It was explained, there were some issues with, a data file that was resolved, some attendance related issues. Those were resolved and will always be viewed upon because we know attendance is super important, definitely for September 30th. Dr. Mann did explain there were some challenges with third-party vendors. What does that mean? Our student information system speaking to other sources like ClassLink, StudySync. We've identified those, and they are not systemic issues. We've come to the conclusion, but we are managing any of those if they continue on a one-on-one basis. Something that's very important when you're looking at your students' cumulative file is the transcript, and it was shared. Administration is looking to improve the layout and formatting of the actual printed version. And we will definitely keep eyes on the accuracy of these student records because they are important at this time of the year and for that student's application to colleges and their cumulative folder. As you can imagine, with such a robust rollout, our tech tickets were in flux. It's expected. We are reviewing those and handling as we can. In addition to our technology team is looking, how can we improve? There was a process put in play on how to handle a new student and getting that student from A to Z, not only with their schedule and placement in class, but also with their technology. So we look forward to seeing how, when we encounter a challenge, how we address it and provide resolution. Because it is, and I know I had gave the analogy of the stadium, you could see the progress as it was built. With such a massive rollout with software, you don't always see it. So the tech committee will stay close and would like to meet more frequently so that we can learn more about the updates and the challenges and how we can get eyes on those to seek resolution. And if there are needs, how we can supply those needs to address those items. And speaking of, Infinite Campus, RIU, Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit, there are no school districts in Carbon or Lehigh counties that use Infinite Campus. So RIU is not familiar with providing any support services. So we are looking, administration is looking to partner with Berks County IU. They do provide these services. So how can we partner with Berks to get, I like to say, boots on ground, whatever it takes to really analyze where do we need those supports, because we really do want to take advantage of the robust functionality of Infinite Campus, what it has to offer. And sometimes it's hard when those challenges are staring you right in the face. So I know administration, and the committee's looking forward to seeing where we've come with a partnership with Berks County IU. And I don't have a date yet of when we're meeting, but we will be meeting soon to stay abreast of resolutions and challenges and meeting the needs, so there is no disruption in our classrooms. Oh, I do want to add, we did talk about, it's like Christmas, we talked about devices and our student devices K through 12, and we are pulling feedback from folks in our buildings to learn more about the devices that are appropriate for our students K through 12. And that's going to be an ongoing process so that we can really have insights from those to determine student devices for a long-term plan.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Torre, do you mind if I just ask a question about the technology committee? And we received a very nice email from both a teacher and a community member, specifically talking about a lot of the technology issues, and you mentioned a lot of the issues. And I think Dr. McMahon has mentioned that over the summer. Did the technology committee, did you continue, since we were rolling out Infinite Campus, did you guys continue to meet over the summer to help with that process at all?
No, that's a
remember
great
if that-
question. No, as I mentioned, we took a hiatus, and at that point, Dr. Mahan did oversee the project over those summer months.
that for the committee to meet over the summer. We're doing updates. In fact, we didn't have a spare second to, even make a report. We're getting to the point now where we're feeling actually comfortable to be able to go to the committee with reports. I will tell you, I've been out for the last 3 days at a conference, and first on our list, and of course, board meeting days are also busy too, but we're going to go headlong into the idea of reaching out to our teachers to get their insight into what they want to contribute to like a survey of what devices will be good for their kids. And there were a number of questions, very good ones about, what's going on with this parent portal and that kind of thing. So we hope to be able to report back very soon. But there has been some delay in us moving forward on that, as I have been out for 3 days.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Mann. Just to add to that, the summer, I know you might not realize summertime in school districts are the busiest time for technology because you're limited from that last day when staff is gone to when they come back to do a lot of things. I'm not an expert to speak to all of that, but Dr. Mann alluded to all of the things that happen, probably running fast and furious here to get everything ready to go in addition to the rollout of our student information system.
Now, if I just make one point that I make all the time, and I will always make it, the people in this room and others have just gone like so far beyond day, night, weekends, pushing hard to get it done. Our staff has been incredibly patient and understanding, but also while at the same time advocating to get ready for their classroom and the great work they're doing. So we are showing progress. Now, we are not where we wish to be at all, but we are managing, and I think each day we're getting a little better than the day before. And again, we're going to stay focused on this as a prime administrative focus because we recognize it's important. So thank you, Mrs. Torres.
Another committee report, Mr. Carney.
ACMC, Ethan and I met September 12th with the 2 teachers on that committee, and there were 3 approvals or discussions about approvals, I would say. Ed committee is coming up October 7th at 4:30 to discuss an update on the RFP for full day kindergarten. The deadline was on Friday, and we have 3 responses. So we will be getting further information as far as what we do with those and how to examine the proposals. I think Dr. Trinkle, professional development took place today, and she in turn thanked Dr. Salameno. How'd I do? Thank you. She said, and I got a summary. I'm not going to read the whole list, but there was reading, social studies, math, Spanish immersion, social studies, and Lehigh University, the partnership that we have, they met with the K-12 counselors. So there's a lot of good stuff going on there. There is a plan in November. I know one of the board members mentioned about having that big curriculum kind of overview, and the plan is to have that in November for the whole board with more data and everything. LCTI, I think that's how come Mike was out. Actually, I think he's on, he's on a committee with LCTI. They had a meeting in York, I believe.
We were able to visit York Tech, which is a comprehensive high school for York County, and they are doing some very exciting things. They're different from ours, not necessarily better, but because they do a good job at LCTI, but we were trying to steal some ideas and meet with their people. We met with individuals from PDE to get their insight into long-term planning, where the vision is with CTCs. Governor Shapiro's putting a lot of money into CTCs as a form of economic development. We want to make sure that we're able to access those funds in whatever way we possibly can. So, we always have to be cautious about spending time away from the district. It was time well spent, and good things are happening at CTC. And I do want to acknowledge Mr. Mond and Mr. Carney for their work there.
Thank you. And I'm sure we'll be getting more of an update on Wednesday because that is our LCTI meeting. There's also an open house for the public, November 14th from 6 to 8. If you're interested in seeing more about what they're doing. And I just wanted to do September 15th, there was a really nice article about, and I've talked about it here at the board. They have a great teacher prep program going on up there. And there's a program that aims to reverse the decline of educators in Pennsylvania. And there was a really great article on it. So if anybody's interested in that, I have it.
Yeah, and just for the record, that just started. That's a new program.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for representing us, Mr. Carney and Mr. Mon up there at LCTI. your facilities report, or no, we didn't?
We didn't meet in September due to it was the first Tuesday right after Labor Day, and plus with everything else going on. So really, the bread and butter was finishing up the HVAC project here. But anyway, that is pretty much at an end as we are back in the boardroom now. So air's on. But we'll be starting back up again first Tuesday of the month, which is October 1st. I was just looking at my calendar. That is actually next Tuesday. But we'll be talking about just finishing up for the HVAC project here at the high school. My understanding there's just a few minor things that just need to be touched up and finalized, but pretty much that's done. And then really talking about plans for the next HVAC project, which is for next year. For one of our other buildings in the district, and then also talking about where we stand on progress moving forward for library proposal for the high school here. So there might be some other topics on there, but that's the main things, probably what we'll discuss. So,
and the only other thing that we do have is the projects at Liberty Bell and the middle school roof. So it's the chillers at Liberty Bell, the roof at Liberty Bell, and the roof at the middle school. We are going to have a pre-bid meeting on September 30th. So we'll be catching up the facilities committee on the 1st, and we expect to have action in October on that.
For summer 2025, right? Construction. Great. Thank you. Yeah, that's good to hear. It's good to hear. All right. Thank you. We're done with committee reports. So moving on to new business. You're good. I do have one item I would like to bring up under new business. And that is, I'd like to look for, board support to put on the next agenda an item where we look at adopting board docs. When I recently had reason to search through a significant number of past minutes and agendas and supporting documents, I was using my teacher eyes on you, Mel. I was just using my teacher eyes on you. So yeah, that's good. All right. So when I was searching through past minutes and agendas and looking for supporting documentation recently, I found it really difficult to search. And sometimes I found, no result for something I knew existed. Other times I found what I was looking for, but when I went to the Google file, the documents were missing or had been moved or mislabeled. But I did find that when I looked for documents, we have previously as a district used board docs, and you can do your own homework assignment and check it out. Try to search for like a transportation contract when we had board docs versus now. I didn't mean to pick on Mr. Pepe's department, but try searching for I'll pick on HR now. Try searching for a contract from HR, when we had board docs, when we didn't. It was, just raised a lot of concerns. I asked around about what other folks use. LCTI, I believe, also uses board docs. And every member of the Lehigh, I'm a member of the IU. Every member district of that IU uses board docs. So I would just like board support and approval to put on the next agenda in order to address concerns about, the Google Docs, not a permanent record. Little bit, we could probably improve that, at least from what I saw, and in terms of compliance and security, and also savings and transparency. Like right now, we require community members to have a Google account in order to see our agendas, and I think we probably also owe it to considering the community might not want to have that kind of a digital footprint in order to log on to see what they looked at and when, and to have a Google account. So for various reasons, and the fact that we've used it before, it worked well, and it's just kind of a struggle right now. And we have enough technology things going on that trying to fight. Mr. Fluck is like, yes, we do have enough technology things going on right now. So if I could just get board support to put that on an agenda, we can look at it. We can vote yes, we can vote no. There are different levels of service, but I'd at least like to be able to look at something that we could take action on as far as considering board docs. There are a lot of different advantages. I won't belabor it right now. I can go into it, but I'll gladly talk about it at the next meeting. But I'm just looking for board support to explore that option on the next agenda so we could take action if we wanted to on the next agenda. Yeah?
I think, I mean, I certainly
Okay.
would support that, but could you make sure that, because I think we had moved away from it because of cost, and I forget what the costs were. I think,
and what I would say is,
it was a cost savings decision.
We were in a different position than we are right now, and so we were trying to cut everything possible. I don't disagree with as far as accessibility and consistency. Our system works now. I mean, we get our agendas out. We share that information. But we strictly moved. It was strictly a cost thing, like $6,000 if something comes to mind. And so, I mean, if that's we want, I mean, that's the board's decision. Whatever the board wishes and feels best with, that's what we want to go with. We will need a little time because, you know, like we now know how to do. We have to get refamiliar with ourselves as far as how to work it in the board docs. But Mrs. Lobley is, you know, extremely talented, and you know, whatever the case is, we'll be happy to go with it.
Yeah, and I thought that some of the people who were most responsible for building that, including Miss Lobley, were familiar with board docs. So I didn't see that as being another tech lift because I you know, I've talked to folks, their familiarity is there. And as far as I appreciate the financial concern. My thought with that in talking to other folks, somebody pointed out that one of the highest instances for right to know requests are searching, like when contractors or different people say, hey, they contact and they're like, could I please have whatever you approved or whatever the plan is you're currently using, and other, you know, community type requests. If we could very easily just say, go to board docs, it's right here. If the right to know request officer could just say, click right here, we would save not only those work hours that would go into compiling the record and finding it and sending it out, and we have lots going on in central office right now, but also we'd save the cost of the solicitor review potentially to checking documents if we just had an easy, you know, access right there, boom.
And I would say on that point, Google does offer a feature called Google Vault, which is a comprehensive tool that we use to search across our entire platform in Google, from emails to documents to count, all that kind of thing. And so the integration of Google Vault, we are okay using that as far as the
search for right to know. Yes.
Search for right to know. No, for community access,
right. I was addressing that. Yeah.
But as far as, you know, needing attorneys and responding to formal right to knows, we are okay where we are with Google. It's just all I was going to put out.
Okay, sure. Just that community access piece. I'd just like to consider it, and I think I'm hearing board support to do that. So if we can talk about what that would look like. I know there are many different levels of service. I would just like to have something. Perfect.
I'll try to get an update out to kind of, you know, redefine to the board some members may not be familiar with it. We'll get something out and say, hey, this is what it looks like. Here's a few options, maybe like this, and then we could just hopefully come to a resolution at the next meeting or the following meeting.
Perfect. That sounds great. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Anything else under new or, sorry. Yes, Mr. Pepe, thanks.
Thanks, Madam President. Since we have the board here, if you notice tonight on the bills list, we really didn't have much in the area of construction funds. We do have payment requests that have been approved by the architect that I'm going to move forward on executing, but they will be on the regular agenda for approval. But I am going to send the checks out. And there's 2 checks going to JBM Mechanical. One's $570,000, the other one's $260,000, and one to Lobar's $170,000. This is all for work that's already been completed, and we are going to be updating the committee. But it's just a matter, we don't want to lag. We have 30 days to make payment. We're going to make the payment and put it on the next available agenda. It didn't make it for the cutoff for this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe. And thank you. You've been keeping the entire board and the facilities committee abreast of all those developments associated with the high school HVAC and any changes. So thank you for pointing that out. That's great. And yes, Ms. Torba.
Right. I'm not sure if Dr. Wayak and I are sidebarring over here. So
yes, I've noticed. I've used my teacher eyebrows,
right.
But yes, go on.
He's just
Share
bringing
by
me
all
up to
means. Would you like to share with the class?
Right. I will share with the class. I didn't know if it was an update or if I was bringing something new to discuss. The cafeteria vendor. If we did start looking at cafeteria vendors or, you know, running an analysis on our current versus what's out there, looking at healthy choices. Dr. Mann and I were talking, I forget what school district I was in, and there was a healthy vending machine and it caught my eye and I took a picture. I'm sure that would all kind of tie together. So I don't know if it's an update or if it is new business to, you know, do an analysis of our current system versus other choices.
Sure, we've kind of talked about that in the background. Sure, we've talked about that in the background.
It's a bad sign when my kid wants to pack, or it's a sign that reflects.
And so I'm sure, Dr. Mann, you can update the board on any, like, whatever the plans are in regard to that, of the conversations that have been going on about what plan, like update future long-term planning for our dining service, and whether Anything?
Well, first, we'd be very, I mean, right now we are staffed with Southern Lehigh School District employees. And I
Yes.
think that this is a sensitive topic because sometimes when our own employee may hear about changes, they may be concerned about actually their employment. So while we've been making improvements in the cafeteria, Mr. Pepe has been working closely with our food service director, and this is an ongoing process that we will be in. I certainly don't think it would, at this point, merit conversations as far as changing our current model, although we obviously are looking at improvements in every possible way, and there's no topic that's not under some consideration in our administrative discussions.
And thank
Yeah,
you for making
and-
that point. To clarify, we have had discussions as a board about how can we bring healthy options, how can we support dining services to have what they need to do that. We are in no way suggesting that we want to revamp. We're talking about how can we better support our dining services to better support our kids with healthy options.
Yeah, my apologies if I did not articulate that. Just
No, that's
Really
that's
look-
fine.
Being overly cautious in making that point. And I'll tell you, we have, just as in anything, we are restless. All right. We are never satisfied with where we are. And we've made, I think, some good improvements, but I think it's more to go. Mr. Pepe's been working very hard and proactively on that area. And Mr. Pepe, if you want to offer a thought or two, if you care to.
Absolutely. We've been meeting throughout the year, the food service director and myself, and he's had a strategic plan to try and provide more, healthier initiatives to get participation up. We actually, or he and they, have turned around to where we are actually profiting at this point. We had been closing each year in a deficit. We've actually enjoyed a rather good return last year, enough that we were able to reinvest into the system. We just purchased new ovens. We're looking at new dishwashers. He's been integrating healthier options into the menus, and his actual participation numbers have gone up. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on. And as Dr. Mann said, the staff has been doing a phenomenal job. And I think that's something that whenever we focus on something, we get better at it. And that has been one of our focus areas the last 2 years, but especially last year. And we're now starting to see some real turnaround there. I actually met with the food service director today, and I was sharing with him some of the information I picked up at the recent conference I attended, and looking at ways to enhance not just the menu, but also the visibility and the look and appearance of not just our high school, but the high school, middle school, intermediate school, our elementary schools. We look at it holistically. And I'm really happy with the progress that's been made there. And I think that the numbers are starting to show.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Mr. Carney.
Anytime I come across something.
Great, thank you. All right, anything else for the good of the order? I just want to say, give a special thanks. I think this is the first time we've used these new microphones that were purchased by Mr. Pepe's department at the end of the year. This is our first time back in the boardroom after the HVAC project that control the controls for this room. So I just want to say thank him for thinking of this. And I just want to give a thank you to our new tech director, Eric Fluck, and his team for setting up this entire new control panel and microphone system. And I think it worked really well tonight. I just want to give you all a big thanks. This was much easier to have this meeting with this technology in place. Yeah.
Emily, are you doing the for information stuff, or that was just for us? Are you
Yeah,
mentioning it?
the for information I have, check it out. There's interesting information in there. Professional development conference request, field trips and graduate study. No need for a vote on those. I don't believe, I'll double check, actually, visitor comment. Actually, just raise your hand if you signed in to speak while I was talking. Excellent.
I did have one
Hold on,
comment
I'm
for
getting to
other
that.
business, which we didn't.
Absolutely. Go ahead. So while I pull up the visitor comment, Mr. Mond.
At the Coopersburg Community Day, I saw Southern Lehigh out in force with various fundraising booths. The ones that I did see were volleyball, music, STEM, or the robotics club. There may have been other ones there that I didn't see, but that was great to see that participation, and hopefully those groups were able to raise some good amount of money. It looked like they got a lot of activity. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. I also saw some student Suddenly High vendors there kind of crafting and selling their wares, and it was good to see that as too. Mr. Carney?
Just I met some parents and students for the fall play present. They were working on the backstage cleanup. So that's coming up. Performances are October 30 to November 2nd. And then I just want to thank again, I know I mentioned that they were going to be doing it, but September 11th, they put up the flags, and I just want to thank whoever it was in the district that got them publicity. And I actually want to thank Mike for showing up. He was all dressed up for work and was helping plant flags with the students. And he didn't want credit, but it was a very nice thing for him to show up and support the students. Thanks.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you for being there, Mr. Carney. You put in far more flags.
All right, we're moving on to our last item of the evening, which is visitor comment. We have Priya Serene, who would like to address the board.
It's on. Okay. I didn't prepare anything formal. My name is Priya Serene. I have 2 children in the district at the high school. Just really quick, 3 things I wanted to bring up. One, I thought of while you were talking about the nutritional items with respect to food and healthy options. That was something I kept talking about when I was on the board. So I appreciate that still being discussed. Just a quick idea. It sounds like you're moving in the right direction, which I appreciate, but maybe consider doing surveys that are school specific, because different age groups are going to have different interests with respect to what they want to eat. And you can filter it that way, right? Like, we all know that from just having children ourselves. The second item, and you may have already heard this from the community, I just wanted to bring it up because I didn't see any communication regarding it. But certainly there have been issues with respect to the sound system at the stadium. This was most highlighted, I think, recently at our last home game, which was the Go Gold game during the halftime presentation. With respect to Mrs. Massey speaking, and a lot of that was in and out, which was sad. I think for us to see, given they had prepared this large presentation with another little girl with cancer. So it's not the first time that happened with the large amount of cutouts, which you couldn't hear anyone. It happened at parent preview night too for bands. So it's been happening more and more. If just maybe someone could look into that with respect to facilities. Number 3 is school safety. I think that was truly the reason I wanted to be on the board when I was on it. And I don't have any qualms with respect to the way that's being handled. I know that's not an area that we're going to discuss at a public meeting for obvious reasons. But I think the most recent shooting that occurred in Georgia, highlighted some technology changes that appear to have occurred. I wasn't aware of them. I wasn't sure if you were. So I think it would be appreciated if you as a board could look into that. I don't think that would be an item that's contentious. I know there's costs associated, but there's certain panic buttons I know that were utilized by staff at the time of the shooting, which I think was credited with respect to a quicker response. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Shireen, we can figure out how to turn it off. While you're correct that it's not just for the public, it's not appropriate. You won't hear us discussing, while we're addressing any issues that Dr. Shireen has brought up about other technologies we could use. You won't hear us discussing that publicly because it's a safety item. However, just for your own peace of mind, what you will hear is, as our attorney announced this evening, you will hear at a future meeting, like the board met in the executive session to discuss, safety. You'll hear that annually. You'll hear that once in a while when we meet to discuss how we could improve certain doorways and entryways or other things. We're not going to discuss camera angles here, but that's kind of how you can keep tabs on it. And also feel free to reach out to us as board members or to the administration if you have any questions or concerns. Like, we need to focus on safety in our own community, and that encompasses technology and social emotional learning, and keeping a friendly eye on each other. So thank you for your attendance this evening. At this point, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming out. Have safe travels home.